Hi there. This lecture is looking at how to answer a 30-mark essay on gender and achievement. I know some of you, or hopefully you've been revising the gender content. So I thought it'd be useful just to nip through an example 30-mark essay with you. So as with all essays, you want to make sure that you read the question first before you read the item, and then you want to chunk the question and pick out the key information you need to be focusing on. So it says, applying material from item A and your own knowledge, evaluate sociological explanations why girls outperform boys in educational achievement. So this question is asking you to evaluate sociological explanations. So I probably would chunk that section, to be honest with you. And when it sort of says sociological explanations, it's kind of asking you to think about both sort of like theories and studies. Okay. Next bit I'd definitely chunk would be girls. Okay. And why they outperform boys. Okay. So I need to make sure that I talk about girls and boys in this essay. And the big application really is making sure that I'm constantly referring back to this idea of educational achievement. I want to keep on using that phrase, achievement or educational achievement, in particular, why they outperform boys. And that might be where might be able to get some of my evaluation in and suggest that actually maybe they don't always outperform boys. So let's get started then. This is an example essay from a while ago. I think it was originally a student's essay that I've tweaked a little bit here and there. I'm going to annotate the different skills, like analysis in yellow, evaluation in pink, application in green. And I guess knowledge I'm not going to highlight, but I will underline concepts. I'll make studies bold, and any mention of theoretical perspectives I will make italic or slanty. And we'll see if we come up with other bits and pieces as we go along. If ideally I'd like you to have this printed off in front of you, and you can sort of add the annotations as I go through it. And please obviously pause this lecture at any point just to get down the notes and then press play again. So the introduction. Some sociologists have focused on the role of school processes within the education system in creating a situation whereby girls' performance has risen. So straight away they've got use of the item in there. Okay, I'm not going to add an annotation on there, but for the item, but that is straight from the item. Others have focused more on factors outside of schools. However, these factors do not operate completely separately, and many interlink. This is a good intro because it's really short. It tells me that they're going to talk about what's happening in school, and then they're also going to talk about outside of school. That's where the debate's going to be. But what I'm really excited about is this word interlink, or they're going to discuss how the relationship between outside and inside processes works. That is going to be really good at analysis if they manage to do that, and possibly evaluation if they phrase it as a debate. So, first paragraph. They talk about liberal feminists straight away. So make it that slanty. That's theory. Liberal feminists have argued that legal changes outlawing sex discrimination and unequal pay, the effect has been to increase girls' work ambitions. So not a great sentence structure. But straight away, I know that this point 1, is on legal changes. That's the first argument that they're making. I'll just make that a different colour to make it clear that it's not a student. Should I do it in red? Yeah. Sharp's comparison of girls' ambitions in the 1970s and 1990s indicates major changes in attitudes to work. Okay, so Sharp, that's a study. Studies, I said I do in bold. Oops. So what this person has done is they've managed to link changes to laws with girls' ambitions. Okay, so this is like another point, if you like, to girls' ambitions. Ambitions. There we go. Sorry, a bit long-winded. The consequence of this, it is argued, has been to increase educational motivation, as girls can see greater employment opportunities to work towards. while in schools, teachers' attitudes towards girls have changed as a result of this increased motivation and perception that girls can do well, so they achieve. So I really like this because they've made a link between what's going on outside, so greater employment opportunities, and they've started to talk about in schools. Okay, so that's developing the interrelationship. That's the abbreviation of interrelationship. That's one of the things that the exam board really gets excited about. The opposite has happened to boys. Girls do well, and so they achieve. So that's clear application. Language of the question. The opposite has happened to boys with a reduction in traditional work opportunity and are arguably a drop in achievement. Okay, so we've got application there as well. And they briefly mentioned the reduction in traditional work opportunities. So that's like a brief point on for boys. Okay, it's not really that well developed. I would say that point in itself is not quite a bit of analysis here because they've recognised the interrelationship, but they haven't made it explicitly clear. So I would say that's a well-developed explanation so far, perhaps not as analytical as I'd like it to be. Next point then, girls' changing ambitions may have actually been caused by feminism. So straight away, that opening sentence is great chain of reasoning between sort of feminism there, girls' ambitions and changing ambitions. So let's just see if I am able to do a wiggly line connecting these two things. There you go. Sorry, as if by magic it appears. So girls' changing ambitions may have actually been caused by feminism. So that twice there, they've got like a little chain of reasoning point. It links the first point to the second point. So I'm just going to connect feminism and feminism. Okay, just so you guys can see. I know this ends up looking really, really messy. In a broad sense, feminist ideas, and of course, the mention of theory, feminism and feminism, may have raised girls' aspirations beyond motherhood and the home, as shown by Sharp. Again, a chain of reasoning thing there. So this is getting really messy. There we go. So Sharp connected to Sharp up there. General social attitudes have also changed, and although still not equal, there is greater equality between the sexes than previously. Feminism has also impacted specifically on schools especially. Okay, so again, they've talked about external movement of feminism, I guess, and changing aspirations, but now they're talking about how this is also affected inside schools in the creation of equal opportunities policies. The idea that girls and boys are entitled to the same opportunity is embedded in modern education. Policies such as GIST, so that's a concept, so I'll underline that. Let's just get into science and technology, have focused on specific gender issues, increasing girls' achievement in these subjects. Straight away, that's a really good application. But it is showing a link between changes in social attitudes and school factors leading to improved girls' achievement. So again, I quite like that. They're starting to analyse now. Okay, I said I do. They're recognising that there's a link between the two areas, and it's not just external and internal. So the next point, other external factors such as early socialisation, arguably, have a much more significant effect, especially the role the family plays in developing literacy. Now, what I like about this is this to me sounds like a bit of a debate, so a bit of evaluation. So let me just check the colour for evaluation. So we're starting to get some debate in here, especially the role the family plays in developing literacy. Department of Education research suggests that the gender gap is mainly the result of boys' poor literacy skills. Okay. I forgot to add in the points above. So, sorry, feminism is point 3 is feminism. That should be red. Sorry. And policies, equal opportunity policies. Sorry, let's go on. So other external factors such as early socialization arguably have a much more significant effect, especially the role the family plays in developing literacy. So this is point 5, is on socialization and literacy. The Department of Education research suggests that the gender gap is mainly the result of boys' poorer literacy skills. Reading is defined as a feminine activity, as it is mainly mothers who read to their children, making it part of the female gender domain. So I'm glad to see some concept stuff in here. So gender domains. And as a result, boys don't value reading. There may be some truth in this argument. So this is starting to sound a lot more analytical than we've seen so far. There may be some truth in this argument as the gender gap is greatest in mainly literacy-based subjects such as English, and as a result, boys are more likely to be put in lower-level reading groups and eventually lower sets. Okay, so they're now connecting, if you like, an external process of socialization with the internal process of setting. Okay, so I'm going to put sets as point 6. Impact of setting. And that is an interrelationship point as well. So I like this. Low level reading setting. So there's an interrelationship between external socialization and the process of setting inside schools. This has a huge negative effect on the achievement of boys. While girls end up in top sets of English are more likely to achieve. So that is clear application. However, recent schemes focusing on getting boys to read from a young age using celebrity role models such as footballers are seeing a reverse in this trend. Okay, so I'm just going to do that as quite decent evaluation there. And I would say that this point definitely drifts into much better sort of analysis. Okay, going into a bit more depth. Prior to this, these 2 points have been excellent, but I'd say this is a lot more analytical, connecting a lot more ideas I like. Some sociologists have looked within school processes for explanations of girls outperforming boys. So that's really clear use of the language of the question, so that's application. And they are trying to create something of a debate here. But it's not as well developed as the opening to the last one, saying it was more significant. So that's kind of a weak debate sentence, I would say. Francis and Willis, studies are bold, aren't they? Francis and Willis. Both highlight concerns about the growth of laddish subcultures and anti-school subcultures. So those are concepts that hold some boys back from achieving similar results. Boys back from achieving, that is application. Achieving similar results to girls, that's all application. However, arguably this hyper-masculinity, underline this concept, has emerged as a result of feminization, as a concept, of the workplace and also schools. Sewell and others agree with the item that there has been a feminization of education. So that's use of the item, and it's also a concept in which schools do not value masculine traits as much as those associated with girls. Furthermore is a good analysis indicator, there is a lack of male role models in education. Okay, male role models in education, with only 14% of primary school teachers being male. This can lead to a sense, and they've explained the example, which I like, this can lead to a sense of resentment towards successful women and educational sex becoming a feminine trait. So got lots of stuff in here so far. And I would say that this is definitely becoming, this is definitely analysis at this point. So let me just colour that all as analysis. I've stopped. Right, we've got subcultures, that is point 7. Point 7, subcultures. Even though they've only very briefly discussed that, they haven't done subcultures in a whole lot of depth there, I would say. Subcultures. Feminine schools do not value masculine. Feminization of education is point 8. Fem of ed. Okay. In which schools do not value masculine traits as much as those associated with girls. Furthermore, there's a lack of male role models. So you've got role models in there now, so that's point 9. and these ideas are all connected in the same point, which is nice. They're sort of building upon one another. Really good chain of reasoning, development of argument. With only 40% of school teachers being male. This can lead to a sense of resentment towards successful women, and educational success becomes a feminine trait. As such, according to Skelton, so that's a study, theory of opposites, that's her concept. Boys will not bother to try hard in school for fear of being labelled, this concept, as feminine by their peers, and so leading to their underachievement. So nice, really clear application. Sort of a quick nod to peer pressure here. Okay, so I'd say that's kind of sort of similar to the point 7 on subcultures. But I'd say it's undeveloped. The whole subcultures argument there is not as developed as I'd like it to be honest with you. But, you know, you only have a limited amount of time. However, with the growth of tech companies glamorizing the geek identity, we are arguably seeing some shifts away from this harmful form of masculinity. It's a concept. With many students now viewing the geek identity as something cool and socially acceptable, leading to higher achievement among some boys. So yeah, this is really excellent evaluation. It's trying to critique the idea that according to ideas of masculine behaviour, boys should not try hard. And it's talking about this notion of a geek identity as I used to evaluate it, so which I quite like. It's something quite new. I think that's why I picked out this essay to go through. Leading to higher achievement among some boys. So that's really clear application. I would like to see some development about this, by the way. So this is good evaluation. Well applied, could be developed. Because I would like to see some discussion about the fact that that's much more likely to be middle class boys, for example, than working class boys. But it is excellent evaluation, the whole use of the geek identity, which some of you might have come across. If you haven't, you've learnt it here, which is great. Okay, so here's our conclusion. There is clear evidence that girls outperform boys at all levels of education. That girls outperform boys, that's the exact language of the question, so that's a good opening to your conclusion. However, there are reforms in place that readdress this balance. So remember, I've always said, try and add something clever in your conclusion, something new that you haven't already mentioned or come to a really strong judgment. So I quite like this because it's got some new stuff. It is no surprise that the government has cut coursework. So that's a policy. That's really good knowledge, not a concept, so I won't underline that. From most subjects at GCSE and A level, as patterns suggest, boys do less well at coursework. So that's a bit of an application to achievement, as they're more inclined towards risk-taking behaviour of leaving it to the last minute. As such, that should be a comment there. Because of policies from outside of schools, we may see the gap close in the near future, especially as teachers are being regularly trained and reminded to focus on boys, in some cases at the expense of girls. So the gap close in the near future, that is quite nice application to the question, talking about achievement gap. And this is quite nice evaluation of what you've already argued. Okay, so the removal of the removal of coursework, I guess, is evaluating the idea that girls outperform boys, and the fact that teachers are being trained to focus on boys at the expense of girls. That's some evaluation as well. So that's a really nice conclusion. Okay, so just like if I was marking it for the exam, I would do some general comments at the end and have a look at the mark scheme, see where it fits in. So one of the first things the examiners will look at is the breadth of points that are made, and then they'll look at the depth. To get in the top band, you want breadth and depth. So this person's done at least 9 key points, okay, as well as some excellent evaluation points. So I'll say 9 key points, all most actually well developed. How many of them are analytical? 1, 2 with good analysis. All well applied to the question. Okay, so you can see lots and lots of green. Okay, lots and lots of green. A good applied evaluation with some debate. Okay, some chain of reasoning in early points. Okay, so the chain of reasoning isn't consistent, which kind of falls into your analysis category. In terms of knowledge, AO1, lots of concepts and studies some theory with the use of feminism. Is there anything else that I'd probably comment on this? Oh yeah, it's the interrelationships actually that we're really, really good actually. Okay, and how many interrelationships did we spot? Well, that's external. So there's 1, 2, 3, and actually here we got how connecting subcultures to the feminization of education. So that's, I guess actually that is also an interrelationship as well. So there's about 4 interrelationships. 4 interrelationships identified and explained. And I think only 3 of them were explained, not 4. And 3 explained. So there's my sort of general comments I would write on the exam script itself. Now let's have a quick look at the mark scheme, which hopefully I've got here, and we'll see where it fits in. So we are looking at the 30 mark one here, not the 20 mark. We need to know where it would go for knowledge, application, analysis, and evaluation. So if you want to have a think about which of these ones you would put this essay in, you can pause now and have a read through. And I haven't marked this properly yet, so I'll be thinking out loud while I kind of categorize it. So pause now if you don't want to hear my thoughts, and then you can press play and see how close you were to my thoughts for a 30-mark essay. Right, so it's definitely in the top 2 bands for knowledge. So is it answers need to show sound, conceptually detailed knowledge on a range of relevant material? Or is it answers in this band need to show accurate, broad, 4 or more, or deep, but incomplete knowledge? I think it's definitely in that top band. Okay, it's got a real wide range of points, and they are all mostly developed and explained in quite a lot of depth. So it's quite high in that area. Application, again, it's one of the top 2. Answers need to show appropriate material being selected and accurately applied to the question needs. Well, I'd say every single one of the points they selected were relevant to the question, and the application was good. Needs to make good use of the item. That's fine. Well, they've used it once. That's good enough for me. But they used it a couple of times. Sorry, they used it more than once. So that's good use of the item. Next one, answers need to show that application is largely explicitly relevant to the issue of the question, though some may be inadequately focused. I think, again, it's top band because I would say every single point was clearly applied to the idea of boys and girls achievement and girls outperforming boys. Right, analysis and evaluation. Analysis needs to show clear explanation with a logical chain of reasoning throughout. I don't think the chain of reasoning was sustained throughout, and the explanations weren't clear for every single point. So the analysis will be present in most points with explanation, some evidence of chain of reasoning. Well, there definitely was some evidence of chain of reasoning, and most, well, I'd say 2 out of the 5 paragraphs, so maybe not most. But I don't think it's bad enough to go into the 3rd band. Analysis will be limited, with answers tending towards the descriptive. It's definitely not in there. I think it's definitely in here. Okay, possibly towards the bottom end of that band for that one. And evaluation. So evaluation must be clear, relevant to the question, and developed. Limited but clear, so the obvious evaluation points being made, or evaluation will take the form of a juxtaposition of competing positions or 1 or 2 isolated stated points. It's not that. Let's have another quick look at this essay at the evaluation points. So it's quite good evaluation in the conclusion. That's very well developed. Oh, sorry, the developed of the geek identity is good. I would have liked to see them maybe talk a bit more about which boys achieve compared to working class versus middle class, but the actual point about the geek identity is well explained. That's fairly well developed evaluation. I don't think it's in the top band. I think it's the 2nd band for evaluation. So I think we're here for evaluation. Right. So now we need to decide what mark this would get. I would give it, so it's either between 25 to 30 or in the 19 to 24. I'm inclined to put it in the top band, to be honest with you, just about, purely because of the breadth and depth of the discussion used. I would say that the analysis and the evaluation could be slightly more developed, particularly the analysis should be more consistent. It started off really strong with a chain of reasoning, but then drifted off. So I think I'm going to give this one 25 out of 30. 25 out of 30, which is a great mark for a 30-mark essay, and would be roughly around about a B, a high B. So hopefully that has given you an idea of what a pretty good 30-mark essay looks like on gender, and particularly how you go about linking the different ideas together that you've been learning about over the past 2 weeks with me while we revised gender and education. Each of the different arguments, they're not worth examining just in isolation. You can't understand the gender gap by just looking at one factor. They are very much interlinked or interconnected. So those interrelationships are very, very important to understand. Thanks, and I'll catch up with you guys soon.